Coach, Broncos are coming off a tight 24-21 loss to NIU. The last handful of games there have all been one-score decisions. What does that say about your team, and how do you kind of get over that hump there?
Yeah, well, I want to start off with sending our thoughts and prayers to the people at UVA and the battle they're going through, and just let them know we're thinking about them and everyone on campus. As far as your question, we're playing better. I think we're fighting. We've been in the last two games and haven't made enough plays. And I've been proud with some of the improvements we've made offensively. Obviously, we got the young kid out there, and he's playing better every single week he's out there. Still a lot that we can be better at. And we're getting ourselves into the fourth quarter, which is what this league is about, and winning games in the fourth quarter. It's something we've been good at. It's good to be in them, but it doesn't do anything if you don't win them, and that's what hurts. And they keep coming back to work. We've had a good week, and obviously this is an easy week to get up for. It's Central Michigan week. This is one of the greatest rivalries in college sports, and our guys are excited to get back out there.
Talking about Central Michigan, what as a coach and then as an eye on the defense can you make of a quarterback that rushes for almost 300 yards in a game?
He is fast. We watched him. I watched his film last year, as a high school kid, and super dynamic runner, and he's only played in I think 2 games this year, so he hasn't played a ton. They will. My assumption is they will play 3 quarterbacks. I'm sure 10 will play. We've watched 16 play all year, and then obviously in the second half of that last game, 3 really played, and it's tough when you're getting ready for 3 different guys. We know Richardson. He's been playing for a little bit now, and they do similar things when different guys are in. 10 likes to throw it more than anyone else. So they've been kind of shuffling through quarterbacks, shuffling through running backs, depending on health, and so I know the defense has had a different type week when you're going to see 3 different guys, and they run their offense a little bit differently each time, but Coach does a good job of putting them in positions to make plays, and their defensive front is really good, and that kept them in games. Their defense scored some touchdowns in the last couple of weeks, and so we got to take care of the ball and play a good brand of football, offense, defense, and special teams.
I believe it's 5 consecutive wins for your team up in Mount Pleasant. What has allowed them to be able to handle the pressure that comes with a road rivalry game like this and come out on top?
Yeah, it's a tough play. As a player, I didn't win 1 up there. I won 2 here. I think there was a good stretch of about 20 years where the home team won almost every game, and that's gone away a little bit. And so we've done well up there. Two times ago, which I don't even know what year that was. It was a real physical, windy, snow. We had sun in warm-ups, so we had wind, then we had rain, we had a lightning delay, and then we were snowing by the end. And that was a really windy day. Last time we were up there was COVID, and it was a shootout, back and forth, and both teams executed fairly well. And it's just you got to get up for a big game and play within yourselves, and not shoot yourselves in the foot, and that's what. Offensively, that's what we've been doing, whether it's an offensive lineman downfield or whether it's a drop ball or whether, Trayson's on the wrong side of the field for 1 or 2 plays, So we're just trying to continue to improve. I think we've seen the improvement, but we got a long way to go, and our kids continue to show up and work hard to try to get better. And, it's going to be a tough road game, tough environment, but this is why you come here is to play this game.
Pretty much every game against them that you've coached has been pretty exciting at the end, going back to your first year here. What is it about this rivalry that you think makes it special and usually makes the fourth quarters pretty competitive?
Yeah, I think the thing that makes the rivalry special is the amount of connection between the 2 fan bases. There's so many people I know. There's guys on our team that mom went to Central, dad went to Western, or both their parents went to Central, and it's just ingrained in so many of the families of our student athletes. And I think the other thing that makes it unique is the amount of traveling that tends to happen. As a player, I always used to tell people during the week of Central when we had a home game here in Kalamazoo, like when you were walking around, you didn't know who was who because of the amount of students that they would bring too, So it was, it means a lot to both both fan bases, and I think that's the biggest thing. And I think the players rise up to that, and when they do, it ends up being a fourth quarter game where you got to make one play down the stretch, and that's what we've been battling to do that for 2 weeks, and we got to find a way this week.
How important is this game for the recruiting efforts from both teams?
Yeah, we recruit a lot of the same players, right? I mean, we both love recruiting this state, and we obviously, we go against them in the recruiting realm quite often. So obviously winning the game, can increase your chances, and so it really does hit on a lot of levels when you come to a big rivalry game.
How has Trayson looked in practice this week, and do you anticipate him getting the start in Mount Pleasant?
Yeah, I do anticipate that. He's had a great week. I mean, he's getting better, seeing things. We threw him a curveball the other day out of practice, that he saw in the game, and he responded, and he looked right at me and said, "That's the same coverage that they threw at me late in the game against Northern." And so he's starting to show recall, which is huge. Still a ton to work on. There's a ton of plays that he left out there, but he also made some plays to keep us in the game, and I thought he did a good job of leading the troops. 2-minute drill. We got to get better at that. There's a lot he can learn from being in that situation for the first time, and he is he's hard on himself, and that's I think that's one of the reasons you see the improvement week in and week out. And so he's gonna continue to improve because he works at it, and then he works extra. We actually have had to tell him to not throw after practice because he has a tendency to stay out there too long. And so we just got to tell him to calm down a little bit and keep his arm fresh because he's going to work at it, and those are the type of guys you love to coach.
Any additions to the tight end room as far as coming back from injury goes?
Not really. I thought Bartol played a pretty good game when we put him in there. Caden Morris was a late add, coming back from an injury. So we did have 2 last week, and Caden's had a good week too. So he's healthy. So we end up having 2 for last game. We're going to end up having 2 again for this game. We'll have some other things that we need to do like we did last week, and find the healthy players and put them out there.
Any update on Ladarius Jefferson's status?
None.
Sean Tyler has been getting quite a few carries, the past few weeks. What do you think about his workload, and is there anyone that you're kind of trying to work in there to maybe lighten the amount of carries that he gets?
Yeah, Jalen Buckley, a couple weeks ago, we put him in there for a couple reps, and unfortunately he got banged up. Zahir has taken a couple drives a game, but I think but between Zahir and Buckley, we need to make sure we're not overdoing Sean, but he's running hard. He's finding holes. We just got to get him in some space. He's a space runner. But he's been running physical. I've been proud of the way he's been sticking it in there on short yardage, doing a much better job in those short yardage situations than he's done in the past. So I've been very proud of him there. But yeah, we gotta continue to develop. We got a redshirt freshman and a freshman that I think are ready. Their bodies are ready, and Buckley will play a little bit for sure.
Coach, you talked about just how special this rivalry is, but to win it, what would that mean? Is it bragging rights? What is that like to win this big game?
Well, I can tell you this: we have a case for the trophy, and it's the trophy has lived here more often than not, and when it's empty, you see it every day, and it's a reminder that we didn't get the job done, and so anytime you have a chance to play in a trophy game, a game that I guarantee. There's play. In fact, one guy on our team, his brother plays on Central. So the connections that each one of our players have with the team we're going to go play, and the recruiting connections and the family connections, it's huge, and it's exciting to be able to put our kids in a situation. Road games are tough, right? And I'm sure it looks like we're going to have action weather. So it's going to be a lot of different things going on, and we just got to focus on us and go out there and play and know that it is a big moment, and I think our guys are going to be ready for it.
And I know this game is on the road, but what makes Waldo Stadium such a special place to play in?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. I mean, I always start with the town. I mean, we do such a great job. There's so many people that live here, that raise their families here, that work here, and so I think we get the student section, which is unbelievable, and then we add the city and the town, and I think the fact that it sits into a hill and it's kind of sunk down and people feel like they're right on top of you, it's just an unbelievable atmosphere for college football. And I always tell the story when I first got here. We were, I think it was my second game. We went up to Michigan State, and I was talking to Coach D'Antonio before the game, and he just could not stop talking about when they played at Waldo and the feeling that stadium provided. He said it was no different than playing in a Big Ten stadium, as far as atmosphere goes. And because I think Michigan State had just I think they played at Central once, they played at Eastern once, they played here, and he just went on and on pregame. About what this stadium can be and what kind of advantage it can be and what his players felt when they played here. And so it's a special place.
Going back to Trace and Bourget, you were a young quarterback who, was in the same shoes as he is now. What do you tell a kid like that going into a rivalry game like this, where that Central's defenders are going to be really fired up and they might have a decent-sized crowd that makes things difficult, in addition to the weather?
Yeah, it's interesting with quarterback play. They have so much on their plate, that he's focused on as far as protections and reading coverages and knowing all the plays and the shifts and the motions that I don't know if it would, to a young kid, sometimes ignorance is bliss, right? I mean, he has so much that he's getting better at. As a freshman, that you don't even have time to stop and think about anything else. I mean, we could be playing Alabama, and I think he'd still be all in his playbook, watching film, and just trying to make sure that he gets himself to a place mentally where he can just play loose. And so I know he's heard about it. We've educated all our young guys on the trophy and on the rivalry, and so they know about it. But I really think he's got so much that he's focusing on right now that which is good. He's focusing on his play. And we've talked about this front four is good, and so like Bowling Green, and so he's gonna have to make quick decisions and see coverage and get the ball out, and we got to get a run game going to help him. But that's a good thing for him, is he's got a lot of other things to worry about this week.
Coach, what do you remember most about playing in this game when you were a player at Western Michigan, facing your rival?
What do I remember most? I remember my two games there. I remember the two losses. The two wins here, we handled them pretty good. There's two last-second field goals. One we tipped, and it went in. I broke my foot there, broke my nose there, ruptured my elbow there, all in that stadium. That's what I remember when I walk in that place. But battles. And so it was a physical rivalry back then. That's back when it was old turf. I do remember that old turf. But you just so many great memories. Home games with the snow on the ground, in November. Some great crowds, and it was always a big game. There was always something special about it, and that's what rivalry games are about.
And your offensive line, Coach, where's that at? Have you seen some improvements since you made the changes up there?
We have. We've gotten better. We've rushed for over 100 yards. We protected the quarterback better. I mean, I know we had a lot of sacks last week. I think 4 of them came in 2-minute drill, because before that we were doing a pretty good job getting rid of the ball and trying to play complementary football the best we could. And I think the changes we've made now, we're still young. I mean, you can't stop 4 sophomores and a senior. I think maybe it's 3 sophomores, a freshman, and a senior, but they're getting better. Still made obviously a critical mistake on the one downfield, but their pad level is getting better. That's why I talk about getting better. We did kind of the just one thing last week of what's the just one thing that you can get better at, and pad level was our 2 young tackles' biggest thing, and they were better last week, and we have to continue that on.
Defense is really doing a good job coming up with turnovers, too. That's kind of been an emphasis of Coach Esposito's and yourself.
Yeah, you get what you emphasize, right? So we put in a bunch of new drills this year. Actually, took a bunch from all over the country of good team. Not just offense does a ball security circuit and the defense does a ball disruption circuit. We've done everything together, and I think it's helped. as far as just holding onto the ball and ripping the ball out. And our defense has been playing at a high level and getting the ball to us. Now we need to take advantage of those, and we haven't. And that's what we got to get fixed. And that's on us offensively. That when they get us the ball with a short field, we got to walk away with points.
Are you okay with Trayson running the football? He scrambles quite a bit and has some elusiveness to him, but he also appears to be able to run the football. Would you consider using him more in that role to give a little additional thought to the defense that
He is an efficient runner. That's the word I would use for quarterbacks. I would always like them to be efficient runners. Obviously, you'd love the game breaker guy, but he is an efficient runner, meaning we can use him in the run game, in by the goal line in short yardage situation and draws situations when you're spread out. He does a good job of. I wish he used his legs less, to be honest with you. He's getting better. He still runs too much when we drop back and pass when his checkdowns are open. I don't even think I knew where my checkdowns were till my second year playing. I'm trying to get him to where if 1 and 2 aren't there and he steps up in the pocket to find Sean Tyler, give him the ball. Instead of you running for 8, he might run for 80. So he's still processing through all those things, but he does have the ability to use his legs, and he's fairly elusive, like you mentioned. So that's helping him have success in 3 starts at 18, and so he's having some success because of those things. But we're always trying to work to figure out the right combination of getting your quarterback hit and him being able to go through progressions and check down.
And Coach, how did you address the Virginia situation with your team?
I haven't. I mean, I didn't hear about it until we came off the field, so I will address it with them tomorrow morning. I don't know if I was under a rock or something. I mean, this morning we just came in, we met, we went right out on the field, and I found out right when I came off the practice field. So I will have a conversation with them tomorrow.